Right. I think we're good to go. So I just want to welcome to everyone for the first attendance at our Jersey City University School of Business blog. Today, our topic will be the need for global business study. And our guests include, oh, come on in. We have some visitors that want to take pictures. So, yeah, come on in. Yeah, that's all right. You're part of the show now. So that's quite all right. That's quite all right. So, how are you? So,
We're just gonna take some photos.
we have some photographers here with us today. So we're going to take a couple of pictures as we start our blog and so forth. So again, today we have Dr. John Donnell, he's chair of the management department here at the New Jersey City University School of Business. And I'm Dr. John Lasky. I'm a professor of international business and operations management, and basically whatever Dr. Donnell assigns me to. So let's begin. The big topic of conversation is why study international business or global business at all? What are your thoughts on that?
That's a great question, Dr. Lasky, and thank you for inviting me here today to talk a little bit about where we are in our world. It is a global economy. The United States has been working in that field for many, many years, and you go back as far as Adam Smith back in the day, and Ricardo who changed it. It is important to make sure that we are utilizing our resources properly, and by looking at the amount of small businesses across the world. I mean, I just taught down in Mexico, and just got back from Mexico, and most of the businesses down there are really, really small businesses. But the United States deals with it quite a bit in cross-border business. And the whole aspect of why the country needs to continue to open globalization is the amount of business that we have. It is a massive amount of international business. You look at the Fortune 500 companies, the multinational corporations out there, they all have a hub somewhere in some country. And that's the way we want to look at Starbucks. I mean, you guys travel the world. In any place you go with Starbucks, you go to Finland, you go to Portugal.
Do you find that small businesses are somehow, involved in this, or is this globalization idea just for larger businesses?
Not small. I call it the SMEs, small to medium enterprises. I think that they thrive off of the residuals from the globalization, because don't forget, if you look at cluster theory, you're going to have like a big corporation, maybe like a Ford Motor, but all around it will be small businesses supporting Ford. Ford is an international company with Mary Barra. So we need to have the small businesses to support the ancillary businesses, and those are thriving on the international aspect.
Thank you. For those that joined us, enjoy the rest of your day. Well, let me ask you this. So, it seems as though going international would be a benefit to businesses. What kind of benefits does somebody enjoy from let's call it, and I know it's kind of a buck phrase to use, but from going global, what kind of benefits can an entity enjoy?
Well, if you first off, say if you start your business and you're utilizing a multinational strategy, you're just here, you're in, say, New York City, you're just dealing in a New York City base. And then you want to open up your market to say more of a global view. What you're doing is you probably quadruple the size of your customer base overnight. And say that if you wanted to go to, in the United States, we're dealing with the USMCA, the United States, Mexico, and Canada agreement, the newer NAFTA thing out there. It's a trade where the barriers of entry between Canada, Mexico, and the United States are reduced. Granted, we're having the tariff issue right now, which is not a bad thing because we've been hammered by international countries hitting us, foreign countries hitting the United States with tariffs for years. But if you look at what's happening right now, if you change yourself from a multinational corporation to a global corporation, You're benefiting from many, many things. You're looking at economies of scale. You're also looking at lower tax rates, lower production when you look at the United States, we are great when it comes to providing finance. In fact, it's production. It's terrible when it comes to low cost employment.
Speaking of employment, what about the talent pool? Does globalization do anything for us in terms of employing, I don't know, a better trained, a more STEM-oriented clientele, you know, to choose from? What's the impact, do you think, of global employment on business in general?
I'll answer Dr. Lasky in two aspects. There is, say, if you go globalization, there will be a slight knock on the home country GDP. Obviously, because you're bringing in more material from outside, bringing in more finished goods from outside. But on the other hand, what you're doing is possibly bringing in employment opportunities for very skilled workers to be able to say, work in the United States. So if you're like a Toyota, and Toyota has plants all over the world, and I know that you have great experience working with Japanese companies, your background. You know, that whole model is so efficient, the Japanese model. But what happens is that they'll bring over their own workers here, they're training their citizens here in the United States, who then become their skill base goes much higher. And in addition to that, their compensation is much more higher. And on the other hand, if you go to, say, a foreign country such as China to produce certain things, of course, there could be a slight elimination of certain types of jobs. But in the long run, those products that are coming to the United States are coming in here at a much lower cost for, say, other individuals that need a Walmart, that depend, that just have a very marginalized income. Those low-cost products help them to sustain their life, basically. So that's kind of the way I'm looking at it. There's positive aspects, there's slightly a little bit of negative aspects, depending on how you look at it.
In terms of like competitive advantage and getting some kind of and I don't know, maybe we could call it a competitive edge or something like that. But is this, even for smaller businesses, this idea of trying to venture out globally or something like this, does this really provide some kind of a competitive edge to those that, for example, just choose to be domestic concerns? And that probably applies to both large and small firms, but I would think smaller firms in particular.
It's a very, very good point. And the way I look at it, and the way I tell my students, constantly telling them, you need to get outside of the United States to be able to absorb the cultures that you witness. Hofstede worked on that. I know you're an expert on Hofstede. When we look at how other countries operate and work, we get a better feeling, a better understanding of what the global environment looks like. So say that if you were a customer service person and you were in Texas, but your customer service base is in Thailand. Well, if you don't understand the Thai culture and the Thai community, your employer will not be doing their job. So I think that a more robust global view is healthy and needed. We need to open up our eyes to the global economy and the different cultures that we live. Now we're in New Jersey, and we're part of New Jersey, we're in New Jersey City. It's a very, very culturally affluent area with many different religions and races. It's amazing. But if you're in, say, some small town in Arkansas that does have customer bases across the globe, you may need to understand how those customers work. You don't want to deal with clients in other countries that you don't know their customs, their culture. So I think globalization opens up a lot of avenues for citizens to be able to become much more knowledgeable and understanding of the world around us.
Well, now comes, of course, the big the big question. So, taking everything that you've suggested, and of course, with your background, you know, having been a huge executive with a major banking firm and so forth, let me ask this question. In terms of students, in terms of building a base for the future, for all the reasons you suggested and so forth. NJCU School of Business, the marketing department, the management department in particular, what kinds of things do you offer, or would you even suggest in terms of the kinds of topics that potential students would want to study and would want to tackle and develop an expertise in? What kinds of things do you think are applicable?
Great question. I teach global business as well as you both of us, where we see the world globally. Our eyes are not vision globally focused. Our role, part of it anyway, at NJCU or at any university, is to share our knowledge of the many cultures that we've dealt with, the many countries that we've been to. The two of us, I can imagine how many countries we've taught and worked in. But we need to be able to educate our students in such a way that they are prepared for what's out there. It is a very aggressive market right now. And students, especially at NJCU, or New Jersey students in general, they need to be able to understand just what they're up against. It is very competitive. So what we do here at this school is that we try to show the students that there are so many different things in a global environment. The global business program that we have here, which is a top program at NJCU, is across different majors. It is not just business and management. It goes across finance, it goes across marketing, it goes across accounting. It's the only multi-dimensional major that we have here.
Both graduate and undergraduate, or is it just one or the other?
Well, it's a very good point. Right now we have strictly a undergraduate view. But what we're doing is we want to be able to create bridge programs that would help students utilize maybe their fourth year towards the first year of the graduate program. So of course that would be incorporated in the graduate program as well. But what we're doing is we're trying to help students to understand that even if you have a small startup corporation, there are going to be customers that you're going to be dealing with from all standpoint. You have to understand that. If you are dealing again in Jersey City, people are coming over from France, from India, they're going to be coming over with a view that they want to have their understanding of that Jersey City business to help them to be able to satisfy their cultural needs as well. So what we do is we train our students, we provide them the skill set to be able to, do I dare say, survive in a global economy?
Well, let me ask you this. One of the authors, big in, and I'm sure everybody recognizes the name Michael Porter. And in several of my courses, I presume you would be doing somewhat similar. One of his articles and one of his writings is competitive advantage nations. So when we look at that, obviously we're looking at the idea of international strategy and, in international business formulation and so forth. How valuable is the research that goes into some of the program? I mean, anybody can pick up a textbook, and that's a given, and there's plenty of valuable information. But some of these other sources that we work with, the Michael Porters of the world and so forth, how valuable is that, and how is that integrated into the programs here at NJCU?
Well, it's funny that you ask. Just last night, I was teaching an MBA program in global management. And I love to talk about Michael Porter as well as other authors. But the models that I like to look at are the cluster theory, the diamond theory, and of course, Porter's five-force model. We learn so much about sustainability. When I teach school, I lecture in Mexico as well. And when I lecture in Mexico, I talk about the sustainability of Wall Street firms. I know, Dr. Lasky, you have an amazing financial background.
I wish I had your financial background. Now you're talking to an expert. So I'll just take that as high praise and let him keep going.
But for the businesses to be able, especially the international Fortune 500 firms, to be able to have sustainability, they need to understand certain things like the cluster theory, where you have, supporting ancillary services all around, or the diamond theory that you're looking at. What's your competition? What do they do? And do you have the ability for a customer base? And of course, Michael's, Florida's 5 force model that say, if you can, look at bargaining powers of our buyers and suppliers and new entrants, rivalry and substitutes, if you can have some control over it, whether it's domestic or global, you are going to be able to have sustainability. It's much more difficult from a global standpoint because you're dealing with a lot of multidimensional things that you're not necessarily dealing with from a standpoint.
Interestingly, and I was watching some things. I watch a lot of bizarre stuff on YouTube and so forth, because I can't stand most of what's on, normal, whatever that is, television and so forth. But, excuse me, I was looking at, and when you talk about Michael Porter and 5 forces and so forth, the sheer cost of bringing something new, something competitive into the market is obviously a gigantic venture. Yet, I'm seeing the fall off of legacy companies like General Motors and Ford and, what Chrysler over the years, has evolved into. And I see such great success from some South Korean companies, some Japanese companies, automakers in particular. And this idea of market entry by these rivals must have cost a fortune, yet it's valuable, apparently, for them to do that. How do you rationalize that?
When you look at the company, say you look at it from a first mover to a second mover, maybe a late entry to the market. Your point is very, very valid, because when you have certain companies in, say, a Korea or a Japan, who are very, very disciplined from a management standpoint, who look at quality with a very strong eye, Six Sigma almost eye, who look at efficiency very, very high. If you look back at many of the management programs, they probably started out in Japan. Very, very amazing country.
Kaizen, your colleague in Mexico with his work in individual Kaizen.
Exactly. Like Martin Lawson in Udla now in Puebla. But the point is, to your question, is that even when you do a cost benefit analysis and you look at the cost, I think that the global marketplace for these companies such as in Korea or coming to the United States is the buyer of the world. That's what we do. We buy things. So when they see a global entry into the United States, they are willing to take it into the first few years, knowing that it will take some time to be able to get their products done in a way that the U.S. consumer will be able to buy them. But we are, the United States, in that respect, buys things like you would for it.
Well, and that's an interesting point, especially from an international perspective. One of the companies, and I mentioned what Chrysler has evolved into, so we know Stellantis. And, apparently, and from what I've been watching and so forth, apparently Stellantis is discarding, offloading, sunsetting several familiar brands, Chrysler and many of their cheap products and so forth. And I wonder if this is a cautionary tale. And I guess here's the point I'm getting to. Their CEO is obviously a European gentleman, very, positive, very well-educated, well-schooled, great background, in business and so forth. But Stellantis, did they, some Americans, like these old, great big gas guzzling big cars and lots of frills and all of this? And that's what a Dodge Charger was. you know, with the big scat pack and all of this stuff. The, Hemis in the big Dodge Ram, you know, yeah. And all of a sudden that got turned off. And Stellantis seems to be indicating that some of these brands are just being sunsetted in quotes because nobody wants them. But I wonder if there's some kind of a cognitive dissonance maybe between this merging of philosophies, this merging of, I don't think it's ideologies as much as perhaps it's just the cultural differences. You know, Americans, big cars, hard charging, big motors, Stellantis now, small motors, fuel efficient, so on and so forth. Is this international or global business also a cautionary tale in some way?
But to your point, and I do love those big cars.
Me too.
I really do.
I own several.
Yes, yes, I know you do. A cautionary tale, it's always good, Dr. Lasky, to fully understand what the past has done so that we don't repeat things there. And when I look at certain European cars, I look always back at the Daimler-Chrysler marriage that did not work. You're right that there is a totally different mindset in a German manufacturer than in the United States. If you can even say that there's a sovereign manufacturing, what they're made everywhere under the sun and sold under a U.S. brand or German brand. But I think you're right. I think that the most of these firms need to fully understand the United States marketplace. And they need to fully understand that it's not just the East Coast or the West Coast. There are a lot of different views from Mid-America that need powerful things, that need some of these cars. Because there are farmers out there that need to, and their delivery folks. Cautionary tale, yes, that we need to understand that we can't just eliminate the past, but we need to be able to embrace the positive aspects of where we came from. And understand that right now, you know, there's different views of different types of sustainable energy in the United States, whether you agree with it or not. It's not going anywhere anytime soon. So I think that the sad to say that the any chargers for the moment might be too cost prohibitive to buy for the gas prices.
Sure.
But which is a shame. I do love those cars.
Let me shift gears on you a little bit. You know, so there's been much, and this is for another segment, but I do want to, it does tie into a little bit about what we're speaking of. There's been much written and much said about a higher education diploma. And I think one of the individuals that you know has been out there, and I don't think he's incorrect. I just think he's incomplete. But you know, the gentleman from TV, Mike Rowe, has been a strong advocate of alternative education. Alternative education to mean the trades, you know, plumbers and electricians and so forth. And I don't think that's in error in any way. But, you know, when the headlines come out, well, you know, why bother with the university? Why get a diploma that, you know, says management or global business or something like this? What's in it for the students? I mean, everybody comes to school for a reason, maybe 2 or 3 reasons, some purpose. But just to get a little bit mercenary for a moment, this whole idea of international business, international management, and so forth. Can students actually, when they get out of here with a diploma like that, can they make money at this?
Very much so. Great point. So I guess I'll talk a little bit about myself. When my father worked for Bell Labs back in the day, he worked on an assembly line. He worked Springfield Gardens, Queens, New York, and he would repair certain things that would be on the assembly line. And there was talk when I was young, I would love to be an electrician or a plumber or a carpenter. That was in my mind. That was my family's mindset. But my father pushed me towards more of an education. And I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do, so I went and I got an associate's degree. And I realized after I got the associate's degree that I wanted to continue my education, but no, it was necessary because of the jobs that I had. Everybody around me had degrees. And because of the environment I was in, I would have been, so to speak, held back if I didn't have the same amount of knowledge that they would have in a degree. First, I went for my bachelor's degree and my master's degree and my doctoral degree. But the point here is that the competition out there, when you think about it from a global standpoint, not from the United States, global standpoint, there are very few degrees out there. When you look at everybody combined and see who has degrees and who doesn't. But many of those smaller, let's say the degrees that the individuals have, they have higher level jobs. They have, because of the skill sets they were taught. I would have loved to have had a trade years ago, but that just wasn't written in the cards for me. So the point that I'm saying is if you want maybe to come out in I work for a very large financial bank, JP Morgan, I'll be very transparent, and I had a global degree. But I started out in their liquidity department. That was, a global department. And then I started traveling around. It was because not necessarily I waited, hey, I got a global degree. It was because I understand how globalization works. I knew the talk, I knew the war. And that's what we train you at and give you the skills here in this year. I'd say the salary would probably be anywhere that starting salary was 125 and up with that particular type of degree. So do I say it's important? I think it's critical. Although I do respect my girl, I love the trades. We need all of us to get education. Just
It's clear, and you know what my view is for a host of reasons, and my background, in a sense, is not too dissimilar from what you just articulated. A little bit different route, but same kind of idea, starting with an associates and so forth. But it's clear to me, at least, that international education opens doors and provides you everything you just said and articulated in terms of much needed knowledge and skills and so on and so forth, the higher salary and so forth. Let me, in the last, couple of minutes, 2.5 minutes, whatever we have. All right, so NJCU, School of Business, Management Department, undergraduate, graduate degrees. Are there any other things that you can think of in the time remaining that create opportunities for students? Maybe it's to travel abroad, maybe it's to experience different parts of the world and cultures and so forth.
Well, with a global degree, you must travel. I mean, I don't want you to be stuck in one particular city all your life. You have to travel. And there are, even in today's, tight economy when it comes to the Department of State. The Department of State offers very good programs such as Fulbright Awards. And there are numerous awards out there besides Fulbright. They're teaching, there are people that want to go over there and learn how a country works on a project. You could do that as well. I've had three Fulbright scholars on the Fulbright liaison there. The importance of that is not only do you get to travel abroad, but it's assisted by the U.S. government. It's also at NJCU study abroad. We allow students both incoming and outgoing study abroad opportunities where you do earn credits. Many times as the chair, as Dr. Lasker said, one of my roles here, we will get students that are going to say Italy, and they're asking us, what can you give us as far as credits for these programs? We'll sit down and look at the credits. Absolutely, no question about that. But the globalization, the global world, and NJCU, all the programs we have are very beneficial to them.
Well, we're winding down literally with seconds to go and so forth. So, what would in about 25 seconds or so, what would your advice be to students that have some type of an international or global eye? What's your advice?
For me, it would be to continue your education in the global field, and it's very important to understand that. Talk to your faculty. Understand where they're coming from. Talk to individuals like Dr. Lasker. The importance of knowing individuals like Dr. Lasker. is critical to your success. And just go out there and enjoy your life.
Dr. Denellen, thanks for being part of this. We will continue this series. There's a show coming up on AI. There's more on global business, international business. We'll be talking about operations management and other items as they come along. But thanks for this first endeavor. We had some photographers in here, so we did a little bit of chasing around, and but that's okay. Everything came together well. Dr. Denellen, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, everybody.
Be well.
Bye-bye. Thank you, sir.